My name is Kathy Mathis, and it is my honor to help out with the service this morning. We have a great service planned for you. We have Reverend Kurt Condra as our featured speaker. We have Danny Bauer and Felina Bunn in the house for our music. Yay! And then I'll be helping out with the platform and with the prayer chaplain. Whether you're here in person or joining us on Zoom, whether you're here now or watching us later, we are glad that you are here. Let us start with our first song with Felina and Danny.
Can you feel it in your bones? Yeah. A change is coming on from every walk of life. People are seeing your light. Can't you feel it in your heart now? A new thing is taking shape. Reach out and touch a hand. And make a friend if you can. Hey, what about you, my friend? Anytime you came on in, living the united way, why don't you join me today? Reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can. Reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can. It's being reflected in your attitudes of others just like you. Reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can. Every day people are waking up to the new one of another. We're on our way to make this world a better place. Oh, reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can. Reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can. Sing it with me. Reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can. Reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can. Reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can. Reach out and touch a hand. Make a friend if you can.
Thank you, Felina and Danny, for that awesome song. Unity is a positive, practical approach for spiritual living based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe there's truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition. We honor the many paths to the one God. Wherever you are on your journey of faith, you are always welcome here. Our purpose at Unity of the North Shore is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. If this is your first Sunday, we extend a loving welcome. Many of us were surprised to learn there was a spiritual community that thought and believed the same things we did. Felt like coming home. We hope your experience this morning is powerful and that you'll return. I invite everyone to stand now and join us in singing our group song.
Sing the second line. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me know that love is all around me. Oh, let me know that love is all around me.
Let me know that love is all around.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me love declare.
Let me learn from all ways I can.
Oh, let me know that love can heal us all.
Let me know that love can heal us all.
Oh, let me know that love can heal us all.
Let me know that love can heal us all.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me share the good that's flowing.
Let me share the love that's overflowing.
Oh, let me care for those around the world.
Let me care for those around the world.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Let me live in a holy, holy way.
Thank you. That was very uplifting. I'm Agnes Lachlan. I'm your prayer chaplain today as well. And I will be available after the service at the prayer candle in the back of the room. And those of you online are invited to place your prayer requests in the chat box. And if you're here, you can put your prayer requests in the back of the room, in the box. And I invite you to pray with me for all your special intentions, especially at this exciting time of the year. So, the daily word for today is seasons. Throughout the seasons of life, my Christ light shines brightly. When winter follows the autumn harvest and the sun's light grows weaker, What may resemble barren land is actually a time of rest, a preparation for the new cycle of seasons. The sun's light and warmth change in ways that perfectly suit each season. My life, like the planet Earth, moves through seasons. The awakening of wonder in childhood, exciting and sometimes stormy growth during adolescence and early adulthood. The achievements of my middle years and the fulfillment that maturity can bring. The Christ presence, the divine light within me, is my unfailing source of strength, understanding, comfort in every season of life. And the scripture? And God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years." From Genesis. Now let's center ourselves. Close your eyes. Rest in the silence. Holding yourself in prayer and your loved ones. Take a slow, easy breath and exhale. And again. Now let us hold in prayer all who are suffering worldwide and affirm the presence of God's love, grace, and guidance in every person and every human condition, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. Now we'll get back to...
Before the next song, I want to just provide a little bit of context. It's a Beatles song. Y'all are going to know it. You've heard it a million times. But I'd like us to think about it from a little different perspective. I mean, we have this amazing, come on up, Felina, like this amazing presence of the divine right here among us. As we all are, right? But Felina is particularly bright and light, and so is Danny. But what I would like you to do is think about or imagine that Felina is actually that present singing you this song. Right? So it's not, when she says, I don't want to say the lyric.
Which one? We can work it out.
No. So just imagine that Felina is God. That's what I'm basically saying. And know also that there is that within you, which is also divine, and that as you listen to the song, kind of listen to it through the lens of your highest self, sort of encouraging you into this invitation. Does that make sense? Felina's God, you're God, and that's who's singing the song. That's basically what they're saying.
No pressure, Felina.
Right. I'm happy they didn't tell me this earlier. Okay. No pressure, Kirk. Thank you. Okay, I'm God. Okay. Try to see it my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can't go on? While you see it your way, run the risk of knowing that our love will soon be gone. We can work it out. We can work it out. Think of what you're saying. You can get it wrong, or you can think that it's alright. Think of what I'm saying. We can work it out, or get it straight, or say goodbye. We can work it out. We can work it out. Life is very short, and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friend. once again. Try to see it my way. Only time will tell if I am right or I am wrong. While you see it your way, there's a chance that you'll fall apart too long. We can work it out. We can work it out. Life is very short, and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friend. I have always thought that it's a crime, so I will ask you once again. Try to see it my way. Only time will tell if I am right or I am wrong. While you see it your way, there's a chance that I might fall apart before too long. We can work it out. We can work it out.
Nice. That was fun.
Thank you, Felina. You are indeed divine. All right, now I hope I haven't traumatized y'all. Is that like so much of what unity teaches is that God is not this deity up in the sky looking down at us and telling us how to act, and I just told you to imagine that God is telling you what to see it his way. But the idea was not so much about an entity or being outside of us, but know that there is sort of this Christ consciousness within us, and I sometimes or much of my work, actually, in my spiritual evolution and journey, has been about really discerning where sort of the human voices are and the human fears, and where that presence of the divine, that soul presence is, and so that I can begin to stand in that more fully and more powerfully. So that's what I was hoping to evoke. How did I do? How did Felina do? Yeah. Okay. So I haven't completely shot your concept of the divine by suggesting that. Okay, good. Okay, happy election week. How you feeling? I love that there was kind of a titter of giggling that sort of went on when Agnes suggested that it's a special week. Is that how you're feeling? It's a special week? Yeah, maybe a little anxious. Somebody feeling anxious? Anybody just terrified? Yes. Couple? Yeah. How about hopeful? A little excited? Yeah. What about centered and grounded and just feeling the presence right here, right now? Yeah. That's the object. And that's actually what I kind of want to talk about this morning, and not just to get us through Tuesday or January 6th, but really, as I mentioned, part of the deepest part of my own spiritual practice and growth is really coming to an understanding of what the divine within me is, and to recognize that it's here, like right here, right now. We are in the midst of presence. We are the presence of the divine right here, right now, and that's true no matter what's going on outside of us, no matter when it is that we're experiencing or what is it. It's always true, and I'm not always aware of it. Frankly, I'm really most aware of it after a really good meditation session. Like then I can feel it. And after that I'm just sort of trusting that the meditation's going to get me through. But I think if we're really devoted to allowing the divine within us to shine through most brightly, and I think that's what the world needs right now more than anything, is that those of us who are really aware of the incredible power there is for love and harmony and truth and light to prevail over the darkness, like that is what the world needs most. And as we dedicate ourselves to that and embodying it more fully, then we begin to change not just our own lives, but also the circumstances around us are going to be uplifted and changed and transformed. So I believe that's probably the most powerful work that we do in spiritual community and as spiritual seekers. So I wanted to talk today just about suggest maybe a few little ideas for staying present to that soul consciousness more often, to be more available to its expression through us. It had me thinking a little bit. Several years ago, I was fortunate enough to be able to spend some time with an amazing kind of Buddhist monk, and he's a humanitarian that's done work all over the world. His name is Bhante Wamala. And just to sit in his presence was just, you feel that divinity. Just he exudes that kind of presence and hopefulness and faith and just peace regardless of what's going on. And so I had this really beautiful opportunity to sit with him in a couple of Dharma talks and some presentations. And at one of these, it was kind of a lecture, and he had invited several people who he was really wanting us to know more about the work that he was doing in Africa at the time. He does hurricane relief and tsunami relief and all kinds of different projects. But on this particular occasion, he was talking about work he had done in Africa in a community where there were a whole lot of folks who were either by malnutrition or by birth defects or by the ravages of war were disabled, paralyzed. And one of the slides was this, it was a close-up of this woman's face, and it was kind of taken down. So you could see her face, and you could see all the way to the ground. And she was beaming, like the light just shining out of her eyes. It was this amazing, joyful expression. And Bhante explained that it was taken right at the moment that she had received the very first wheelchair of her life. She was in her 40s. So most of her life she had been kind of crawling around, and this was just going to be completely transformative of her. And what struck me most is and this had been several months earlier that she had been given the wheelchair, but Bhante's eyes were every bit as bright as hers. Like he was as joyful, like reliving that being in that presence, that energy, in the moment he was inviting us into helping with it, as she was in the photo and in the image. It was just this really ebullient thing. And then the very next photo, the slide changed on the screen, the very next photo was of the same village, but it was taken from further back. And surrounded by Bhante presenting her with this wheelchair were a whole bunch of other folks who were in the same predicament, in the same plight. And someone in the room took a deep breath and kind of sighed and said, "Oh, heartbreaking," at the suffering that was going on around him. And Bhante stopped, like his eyes flashed in that moment, and he was like, "No." He got really serious. And he said, "You must prepare. You must be able to, in every moment, prepare oneself psychologically." He said it just like that, psychologically. And there was a sternness, but a gentleness about the coaching that he was giving. And what he said was, you must be able to share in the joy of one who receives, even when there are 10 in line after who will not. Like, it suggests to me that the ability to be present to the grace and the joy that's happening, and also to be present to the suffering and the misery, like to hold those both with a place of compassion, like that's true presence. That's Christ consciousness. To be able to hold it all in a space that creates a space for compassion, but also empathy enough to be with the person who's suffering. Because so often when we're confronted with that suffering, what we want to do is push it away. We just can't bear it ourselves. And so the strength of being in really centered and grounded in presence is to be available to the fullness of our emotional, spiritual, material, earthly experience. That's when we truly are one with Spirit. That's when we're truly that transformative power that can begin to relieve some of the darkness that we see in the world, to bring light to it. So how is that? How exactly do we cultivate that kind of presence and awareness? So I've kind of developed, I've looked at a bunch of resources this week, and I'm just going to give you sort of 4 ideas to work with as we sort of get ready for whatever happens next Tuesday. The first of these is about emotional awareness. And it's really a capacity to, as I was just explaining, to like be present to the suffering and the joy, even if it's happening concurrently. To not shut off either one of those, but to have our hearts and our minds and our presence open enough to be able to be with all of that. This is some deep work that I've done throughout my life. I grew up in a home where I was, my parents split, so I took on an adult role, and I've been talking with Ann Baker about the Enneagram. I think we're going to do some more work there. But one of the types in the Enneagram is a peacemaker, and I'm a peacemaker, which means I can't stand conflict. I want everybody to get along. And so what happens is I'm really attuned to what everybody else is, but I get confused. Like by the time I'm done with it, I don't know what I'm feeling. And I end up sitting in confusion or just numbness, or I've done, as I said, a lot of work on this. So for much of my life, I wasn't in touch with the emotional richness of my experience at all. And I think that's kind of true for a lot of us. There's a way in which we just haven't developed either the language or haven't been educated in ways that we truly understand the depth of emotion. And we tend to kind of fear those that we perceive as negative, right? So we push them down, we suppress them, we don't allow them. There's just a lot of sort of denial in the way that's not healthy, that's sort of uncovering, that just allows them to sort of fester underneath in terms of emotional stuff. And one of the tools, I just came across this one this week, but that I've found very helpful, is that to really deepen our understanding and our language for describing the feelings that arise within us. Traditionally, I think there are 5 basic emotions that psychologists and counselors often use. Happiness, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. Those are kind of the basic ones. This week I found a really wonderful resource, and I have a slide. I know you're not going to be able to read these, but what I... Yeah, but what I wanted to express is our emotions are every bit as rich as a color wheel. You look at one of those color wheels that spreads out, and there are so many shades and nuances to the sort of 5. They've got more than 5 in the middle here. Angry, I can't even read them, they're blurry. But out of those 5 emotions, they sort of spread out. And as we begin to be present to, oh, I'm angry, maybe it's like, oh wait, maybe the anger is really arising out of a sense of frustration or out of anxiety. And there are deeper levels at which we can begin to recognize what's happening within us emotionally. And as we do that, what happens is they begin to shift. What we realize is that emotions are fleeting. This too shall pass kind of thing. And as we bring awareness to one nuance or one shade of it, it sort of shifts and transforms to another. And I think in that way, there is space made sort of within our psyche that we're actually able to feel the complexity was happening in our emotional lives. So I would invite you this week to maybe explore what's happening as feelings arise, as you're watching news or watching electroturns, or some of it might be really exciting, some of it might be, or some of it might be really triggering. And yet, if we stop there at sort of if it's out of fear or if it's out of excitement, if we stop there and don't sort of just allow a little bit more depth to kind of emerge or a little more awareness to emerge, then we're actually missing an opportunity to be more present to what's going on within us emotionally. So the emotional level, I believe, the emotional level is really key to being able to be sort of fully cognizant of, so that our sort of the spiritual aspect of us, the dimensions, can become more powerful and more present. Does that make sense? So it's the emotional piece. The next sort of idea that I would invite you to contemplate or to maybe make space for in your practice this week is that of openness. And in some ways, it's about emotional openness. There's kind of 2 ways I want us to kind of play with this idea. So the first is one of my favorite films, and I don't know why it always comes up, but or for me it does, is Steel Magnolias. It's an old film now, Dolly Parton. And there's one scene in particular that every time I see it, I have the same sort of emotional response, and it's wonderful, right? It's the scene where Sally Field, who plays a character whose daughter has died, and that's one of the deepest pains a parent can experience, is a child who dies first. So has sort of reached her breaking point, and she's with this circle of friends, these Steel Magnolias, as they call themselves, or as they're referred to in the movie. And she just loses it and is able to kind of express all the pain that has been building up in the course of this time. And there's just this really, the whole group is sort of there with her and feeling it with her. And then one of the friends grabs another who's kind of an acerbic, who's kind of, everybody everybody has a little bit of an axe to grind with this other character. And she says, here you go, Malin, just whack Weeza, whack her right over the face. And every time that happens, it doesn't matter how many times I've seen, I have the same reaction. I just break out laughing. And later on, it's described as laughter through tears as like the greatest emotion. What that represents for me is there's this beautiful way, as if we're open emotionally, we're incredibly complex beings, and we can hold more than one emotion. We can see pain, and we can see joy, and we can honor those both. And in that space of openness, like there can be incredible healing, incredible relief, incredible release, incredible like connection that happens as we open ourselves to it. So I invite you to just be aware of that as you're looking at your feelings this week. Just recognize that it doesn't have to be this one thing. In fact, it's probably not. There are layers and layers and layers around our emotional lives. And the more that we're open to that and the more that we allow it to flow through us, the more we make space for spirit to be able to express within us. Yeah? Let's see, the other thing that I think really maybe holds us back from being able to experience that level of nuance and depth is just basic sort of fears. And I was listening to a podcast this week, and the guy said, he described this amazing, you know how there are very old ancient maps? I've got one here too. It's also kind of small, but I think you'll be able to make out the details that I'm most interested in. But in these old basic maps, and this was 16th century, I think. So at that point in our history, half of the sailors that went off never came back. It was a pretty risky kind of time. And so as the cartographer sort of put this together and didn't really know what was out there, what ended up happening is that there are all these monsters. All of these monsters to build up fear. And I think that's the same that happens with us as we begin to like really delve more deep with there are the scary, mushy places that we don't want to go to. Sometimes even if they're painful emotions, because they're familiar, that's where we'll sort of rest. And so part of what openness really entails is being willing, like as sort of cartography developed and as like oceanography developed, that we're willing to sort of push beyond those places where the monsters are in the corners and falling off the world. And we're able to sort of allow ourselves to be in the unknown, to even recognize that, I don't really know exactly what this feeling is, but I'm willing to sit with it. I'm willing to entertain it and see what it might have to reveal for me. So that level of openness emotionally, I think, is really going to be helpful as we try to really center more soundly, more purposefully, more intentionally in this divine presence. Let's see. So the next idea that I'd like you to contemplate around being willing to be open-hearted and really expand our capacity for presence is one that I'm borrowing from an author I just found this week called Frederick Pert, P-F-E-R-D-T. He was like a Google imagination manager for 10 years or so, and since then he's gone on. Everybody's looking at those leaves, layers of emotions, right? Frederick Pert, and one of the practices that he suggests is called radical optimism. Not just optimism, but radical optimism. And he suggests that, very often what we think about as in terms of an optimist is that an optimist sees the glass half full and a pessimist sees the glass half empty. And he says that's way too simplistic, that if we're really wanting to move into a space where we're open and receptive to the good of God, the divine of God to express more fully through us, to be radically optimistic is really what we're aiming for. So it's not about the glass being half full or half empty. The glass is what the glass is, right? So that's the other piece I love about this example is it's like there's not a prescribed like level of water that has to be in there to begin the barometer. Like whatever is in the glass is what's in the glass. A radical optimist is fully present to conditions that might be empty or might be painful or might we're not denying the amount of water that's in the glass. We're not denying the situations in the world. We're not denying there is conflict or pain or suffering or lack. We're not denying the presence of that in our experience. It is what it is. A radical optimist is able to sort of be with that and see that, all right, how is it that the potential for better can be expressed here. Like always to be aware that whatever is happening, there is the potential for better to be expressed. They use the examples of like, okay, whether we're going through a layoff or a breakup or a divorce, like those are all pretty low level glass, water in the glass kind of experiences. And yet to be present to the notion that, wow, there is capacity in this experience of a breakout for a deeper understanding of myself. There is a capacity out of this for a deeper understanding of what works in relationships for me and what doesn't. Like there's the better that is always available to us if we're willing to address it from that level of experience. If you're interested, Frederick Perft, the book he wrote is What's Next is Now. And so the premise here that we're looking at is really coming from an understanding that no matter what is happening, that there is the capacity and the potential for better to be expressed. And what matters most is how we're willing to show up for that, right? Am I going to be in a space of like victimhood and, oh, how awful it is and lack, or am I willing to sort of see that where that potential is and work toward healing and work toward whatever it is that's going to get the next few drops in the glass to rise? Make sense? I like that. Radical optimism. Let's see. So the fourth and the last that I'm going to share with you this morning is really, and this arises out of the same book, the same writer, and he calls this empathy for future mind state. And he makes a distinction between mind state and mindset, right? We're wanting to be able to sort of shift what we're holding in mind. If mindset, like even in the word of it, sounds like, okay, it's set, it's not going to change there. But mind state, just like there are states of matter that change in different forms. So mind state is a way to think about it, that there's a little different potential. And what he suggests is that as we really hold an intention for our future mind state, right? So if I can begin to imagine how I want to be showing up for an experience, rather than where I am right now. Not to make anything wrong with where I am right now, but if I can begin to put some intention around or begin to imagine a different way of me being, then I have a whole lot more potential to change the behaviors that are sort of keeping me in this space. I love the research that he cites. One of them is that they were a bunch of students, I think they were at UCLA, and they did this exercise where they asked them to imagine, okay, imagine your future. What's the future look like for you in a year? And most of them who are still in school, they could begin to imagine like who they might be hanging out with or where they might be living, and they could kind of picture that. And then the next piece was, well, okay, imagine in 5 years. So most of them would be out of school. They could imagine themselves in a job somewhere. They could imagine themselves maybe in what city they might be living in. They could begin to sort of picture that. And then they suggested, okay, now picture your future state out in 10 years. What does that look like? And even 10 years out, they could begin to imagine that, well, they're driving this kind of car that they desire, or they're living in this neighborhood, they've started to buy a house, they're maybe beginning a family, but they've got a picture or an image for that. And then they said, okay, now imagine 20 or 30 years out. And for most of them, they couldn't do it. There was no image that far out. And then what they did is they gave them VR glasses, virtual reality glasses. And you've probably seen these on some of the Facebook scrolls, like they'll take a picture of a baby and they'll age it from the time they're a baby through their teenage years, through their 20s, through their 30s, through their 40s, and they show an 80-year-old. They gave these kids that kind of a vision of what, and once they could see themselves at 60 and 70 years old, they could begin to imagine what their life might be like. And what they found is that these kids, after having that experience, like some of them doubled their retirement savings even while they were still in school, because they could begin to imagine this future state. So we can do the same thing. And I'm not suggesting we do it like, I mean, you can use it any way you want to, but I'm not suggesting it be around like material stuff. I'm thinking spiritually, what sort of future mind state do you want to be holding? Do you want to be a peacemaker? Do you want to be one who is sort of the presence of love, the presence of light? Do you want to be someone who others turn to when they're in doubt and you are this strong, sort of steady rock of faith? Like, what future mind state would you like to be holding for yourself? And as you begin to imagine that, I'm imagining that what happens is we'll begin to embody that more fully in the here and now. So that if someone in your life is really going through a tough time and is having maybe a diagnosis that's not so great, and is really needing someone to hold the space for them, to hold the space for their healing and perfection, healing and wholeness and perfection, that you can be the presence of that for them. As we begin to imagine ourselves in those mind states, we'll actually begin to move toward that in the actions and the beliefs that we're holding in the here and now. So here's a prayer that I'm going to suggest for claiming a higher level mind state. And there are prayers that, let's just say, we'll use love and faith and peace and joy. And we'll use them as kinds of affirmations. So we'll try this again. Last week I did a call and response, but I stuck too many words in it. It got kind of awkward. So I'll try and do a little better this time. Okay, so here's a prayer for claiming those qualities. I am love. Together. I am love. Inspiring hope in those who feel none. Together. Inspiring hope in those who feel none. I am faith. Giving strength to those who feel weak. Giving strength to those who feel weak. I am peace. I am peace. Providing comfort for those in dis-ease. Providing comfort for those in dis-ease. I am joy. I am joy. Bringing light to those who feel lost. Bringing light to those who feel lost. I should have put those on a handout for you. I'll email them out this week again, if that's helpful. And we'll send them, we'll email them, so those of you who are online, if you didn't catch them, and they'll be on the recording too, so you can always listen on YouTube afterward. So I'm wanting to do something a little bit different for our meditation this morning. And so Felina is going to kind of move us into our meditation time. I'll do a little speaking, but it's a beautiful prayer for humanity by India Ari that Felina graciously agreed to kind of learn and hold space for us. And so as we move into this coming week, as we sort of aspire to be more grounded in that soul consciousness, in that presence of love, in our God selves, this prayer, allow it to just sort of open your heart and see if it might not be a way in which you can feel that presence of the divine. Know yourself to be a channel through which transformation and peace and harmony can happen, even as we move into, as Gladys said, this, what'd you call it, a surprising week? Exciting week, into this exciting week.
If we could learn what it means to really love ourselves, then we can learn to love our neighbors as ourselves. And we can live in harmony, see ourselves as a family. This is my prayer for humanity. That we can respect our women and protect our girls, that they feel safe in every corner of the world, that we can live in harmony, see ourselves as a family. This is my prayer for humanity. That every man will be a father to someone, by loving every boy as if he were his only son. That we can live in harmony, see ourselves as a family. This is my prayer for humanity. That we know that nobody really wins the war and every leader know what power is really for. That we can live in harmony, see ourselves as a family. This is my prayer. Ooh, this is my prayer. This is my prayer for humanity. And every man, woman, boy, and girl, we hear these words across the world. And every man, woman, boy, and girl, we hear these words all across the world. And every man, woman, boy, and girl, we hear these words all across the world. This is my prayer for humanity.
So I invite you now to breathe in this beautiful prayer. And in the breathing in, to affirm that each of us has the power to bring it into expression. That our desire for humanity, for good, for safety, for power used well, for the end of disharmony, all of that arises out of the peace that we experience in our own souls. And we know that as we center ourselves in the presence and the power of divine love, that we actually become expressions through which that love moves. And so in these quiet moments, we affirm that the work we do in the here and now is actually a part of our transformation. That the love we experience here and now, the greater level of light that we're able to beam, goes with us, goes before us. And our capacity to experience the oneness of the divine, to know that we are intricately connected to all those around us, indeed to all that is, allows us to stand firmly on the strengths that we have, on the gifts that we bring, on the ways in which we can serve this love and light. Truly we are one with the one, and so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
That every man, every boy and girl will hear these words all across the world. That every man, woman, boy and girl will hear these words all across the world. Every man, woman, boy and girl will hear these words all across the world. This is my prayer. Ooh, this is my prayer. Ooh, this is my prayer. Ooh, this is my
Amen. Love that song. So how you doing? This is the time in our service when we share of our tithes and our offerings. So I would invite you to bring that same sort of fullness of gratitude, of being in the flow, of love, of desire for greater good to express in the world. Bring that to this experience of giving. Let's speak together. I think we probably have a slide that shows how to give if you want to use your phones, or if you're online, how you can give. But in the meantime, let's speak together our offertory prayer together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Wow. So now our announcements. If you're watching on Zoom, we want to remind you that you're invited to stay on Zoom after the service ends for group discussion time. Our gala is coming up, and Jasmine, please come share.
I know you're getting tired of hearing me talk about the carnival, but we're getting there. It's just 2 more weeks of announcements, so we're almost there. So, big fundraising gala, carnival theme. We are going to have so much fun. This is your last week until Friday to get the early bird ticket prices. After that, the ticket prices go up. So you can see me today after service, or you can go online and buy your tickets, but it's time to start buying those tickets if you haven't yet. I have lots of people's names on our seating chart that have not bought their tickets. So I know you're planning to come, which is wonderful, but I actually need your money too, so that we can pay all of our vendors. And this is our huge fundraiser for the year, so please come, bring your friends and family, be generous. It is going to be so much fun. We have a fabulous caterer. We have some exciting things in our auctions, and we have a really, really fun live band. What we are building here, what we have here in our community is so amazing, and by supporting these fundraisers, you guys allow us to keep doing what we're doing for us and to keep making it available to the broader community, because the beliefs here, the community here, the experiences, those mystical, magical experiences you have, like, it is life-changing and people need this. So please come, support it, be there, and have fun with us.
All right, we have a prayer workshop coming up next Sunday after service. Our chaplains and the students in the Affirmative Prayer Spirit Group invite you to join them for a mini workshop on affirmative prayer, including roundtable discussions immediately following the service next week, November 10th. The Spirit Group is leading this session as their active service, so there is no cost to attend, but registration is required, and you can register at unityns.org. And congregational meeting, our quarterly congregational meeting is today following the service. This meeting takes place in person. Please join us to hear about the latest news from our Board of Trustees and provide them with your valuable input and feedback. That's it. Let us please stand now and sing our peace song and the prayer of protection. Now the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God encloses us. I am love. The power of God protects